MASH wasn't just a successful show, it became a cultural milestone. Each week, millions of viewers tuned in to watch a unique blend of sharp humor and heartfelt drama that made the series unforgettable. On screen, everything looked seamless. But behind the camera, the story was very different. For several cast members, the experience eventually became overwhelming. So what really happened behind the scenes? Why did some of MASH's most beloved stars step away from the spotlight just as the show was at its peak? In this video, we uncover the real reasons behind those exits that stunned fans and forever altered the course of the series. MASH transformed what audiences expected from a television sitcom. It wasn't just another lighthearted comedy. It combined genuine laughs with emotional depth in a way that had rarely been seen. When it premiered in 1972, the Vietnam War was still ongoing, yet the show chose to tell its story during the Korean War. This creative decision gave MASH the room to explore the brutal truth of war while still keeping viewers entertained. The characters weren't just comic relief. They showed the raw emotional toll of war and how people find ways to cope in the worst circumstances. This balance of levity and gravity made the show a fan favorite, but also brought its own creative challenges as it evolved. The show's journey to iconic status wasn't accidental. Its roots trace back to 1968, when Korean war surgeon H. Richard Hornberger, writing under the pen name Dr. Richard Hooker, published the novel MASH, inspired by his own wartime experiences in a mobile army surgical hospital. The book stood out because of its powerful mix of dark humor, human warmth, and stark realism. Its success as a bestseller drew Hollywood's attention almost immediately. What set the novel apart was its message. Even in the darkest times, people managed to laugh, connect, and stay human. That theme deeply resonated with Americans living through the turmoil of the Vietnam War and a time of widespread social change. The series progressed. It delved deeper into socially relevant topics and complex character development, which made the creative process increasingly demanding. Balancing the show's comedic elements with serious subject matter was no easy task. Behind the scenes, tensions sometimes arose. Writers, actors, and producers didn't always agree on how the stories should unfold. That kind of pressure, combined with the natural wear and tear of working on a long-running show, led some key cast members to make the difficult choice to leave. Their decisions surprised fans and industry insiders alike, proving that what happened behind the scenes could be just as complex as the storylines themselves. Still, through conflict and change, MASH continued to adapt without ever losing its soul. The reminder that war, no matter how you frame it, always leaves a mark. From the pages of a novel to the screens of millions, MASH became more than just entertainment. It became part of the cultural fabric. The movie adaptation of the book was a major success, winning the Palme d'Or at Cannes and an Academy Award for Best Screenplay. That success showed the world was ready for storytelling that didn't shy away from serious issues. The biggest leap came when CBS launched MASH as a TV series on September 17, 1972. Taking the humor and grit of the film, producers Larry Gelbart and Gene Reynolds expanded it into a character-focused story with emotional depth that kept audiences hooked for over a decade. Alan Alda stepped into the spotlight as Hawkeye Pierce and quickly became the soul of the show. His portrayal brought humor, heart, and realism, turning the character into something much more than a typical sitcom figure. But the early days of MASH were rocky. Ratings in the first season were low, and CBS nearly canceled it before giving it a fair shot. Luckily, a strategic move to Saturday nights brought a surge in viewers, securing the show's place in TV history. MASH also broke new ground in how television was made. It took bold risks, blending real war footage with scripted scenes, replacing laugh tracks with ambient noise like helicopters, and using its format to push storytelling boundaries. Alan Alda wasn't just acting. He began writing, directing, and helping to steer the show toward greater realism and emotional depth. However, as MASH continued to grow and change, not everyone in the cast felt aligned with the new direction. Some actors felt their characters were being pushed aside or reduced to one-dimensional roles. As a result, several key performers left the show, some for personal reasons, others to pursue new creative paths. These departures forced the series to evolve while still staying rooted in its core message. War is never just about battles. It's about the people caught in the middle. Some exits were quiet. Others were so shocking they made headlines. And the way the writers handled those farewells became the stuff of television legend. One departure, however, stood out above the rest: McLean Stevenson's exit. The challenge was immense. How do you respectfully remove a beloved character without turning the show into a melodrama? For fans of MASH, one of the most heartbreaking moments came in the Season 3 finale titled Abyssinia Henry. In that episode, the usually lighthearted tone took a dramatic turn when radar announced Lieutenant Colonel Henry Blake's plane was shot down over the Sea of Japan. There were no survivors. That moment wasn't just sad, it was revolutionary. It marked the first time a major character left the show in such a final and devastating way. McLean Stevenson had played Colonel Henry Blake since the show's beginning. He portrayed the good-natured but often bumbling leader of the 4077th, bringing a warmth and charm that balanced the chaos around him. While characters like Hawkeye and Trapper were witty and rebellious, Henry Blake offered something softer. He was endearingly human, sometimes lost but always well-meaning. Stevenson's performance earned him a Golden Globe, and fans deeply connected with his portrayal of a man simply doing his best in an impossible situation. But behind the scenes, things weren't as smooth. McLean was increasingly unhappy with how his character was developing. MASH started as a comedy where many characters shared the spotlight. Still, it soon began focusing more on Alan Alda's character, Hawkeye Pierce, especially as Alda became more involved in writing and directing. This shift meant Hawkeye's character gained more emotional depth and importance, while McLean felt his role was becoming less significant. McLean's frustration grew to the point where he openly expressed his desires to People magazine in 1975. He said he wanted to be number one, that he wanted to be the guy carrying the show. This might sound like ego, but it showed his deeper concerns about his career and future. McLean dreamed of becoming a big star and had ambitions beyond MASH. However, he was learning a harsh truth about Hollywood. Actors can get stuck in roles that define their entire careers. McLean desperately wanted to avoid being known forever only as the bumbling colonel, even if it meant leaving a successful TV show. McLean Stevenson's frustration with his role on MASH was growing, and he made his ambitions clear. He wanted to be the leading man, not just a supporting actor. It was a bold move, but did leaving the show give him the career boost he expected? Television? History changes. McLean Stevenson understood the significant influence television had on American viewers. He truly believed he had the charm and skill to be the central star of his show, rather than always being a supporting actor. He simply wanted to be the primary focus, and not constantly take a backseat to others. So, as the third season was ending, McLean made a tough choice. He informed the producers that he wouldn't be returning for another season. He decided to leave his popular character behind to chase his dream of leading his own TV series. Most sitcoms played it safe when actors left. Characters would move away, get a new job, or have a happy send-off. But MASH wasn't like other shows. When Larry Gelbart and Gene Reynolds had to write this exit, they saw a chance to make a statement. Instead of a lighthearted farewell, they leaned into the reality of war, where not everyone gets a clean, happy ending. It was a bold move that reminded audiences just how unpredictable and unforgiving the setting was. This decision led to Abyssinia Henry, an episode that changed TV forever with its emotional punch and unexpected twist. It starts with Henry Blake getting his discharge orders, ready to leave the war behind and reunite with his family. The first 25 minutes feel like a proper send-off, with celebrations, heartfelt goodbyes, hugs, and an overwhelming sense of relief. Everything points to a happy ending, as if Henry finally gets the future he's been longing for. But then the show takes a turn no one saw coming. Radar, looking very serious and holding his hat, walked into the operating room. The doctors were in the middle of surgery when he interrupted them with terrible news. Lieutenant Colonel Henry Blake's plane was shot down over the Sea of Japan. There were no survivors. After he said this, there was a heavy, quiet silence that seemed to fill every living room in America. There was no dramatic music, no laughter from a studio audience, and no helicopter sounds to make it less harsh. Just stunned faces and the steady beeping of hospital machines. It was a decisive moment that made TV history. Henry Blake's leaving was a moment that redefined television storytelling. Audiences had never seen a comedy tackle such a devastating loss with such blunt realism, forcing them to confront the unpredictable nature of war. But how did this decision affect McLean Stevenson, the actor who had left MASH for what he thought were better opportunities? Henry Blake's demise was a significant event in TV history because it was one of the first times a well-loved character on a comedy show was killed off permanently without any warning to the audience. The cast's intense emotional reactions were mainly honest. Only a few people knew about the ending ahead of time. Alan Alda, who played Hawkeye, later shared that only Gary Berghoff was told beforehand. This was so he could get ready to deliver such terrible news. The rest of the cast was genuinely shocked and sad during that last scene. This made their performances feel very real and helped create the powerful, emotional impact that viewers felt as they watched it happen. The episode sparked an immediate and intense response from viewers. CBS received thousands of letters, with fans split between those who praised the show's honest portrayal of war's harsh realities and those who were furious about losing such a beloved character without warning. Many felt the producers had crossed a line, but creator Larry Gelbart stood by the decision. He explained that they wanted to show audiences that in war, not everybody gets to go home. McLean's departure from MASH seemed promising at first. He quickly landed a lucrative NBC deal and appeared ready to build his career on his own terms. His first project, The McLean Stevenson Show, was a family sitcom that showcased his natural charm and likable personality. For a moment, it looked like he was successfully breaking free from the MASH universe and making his mark. But the early optimism didn't last. The show was canceled after just one season, and his next attempt, Hello, Larry, performed even worse, despite heavy network promotion and high expectations. Later, McLean Stevenson looked back and deeply regretted leaving MASH. In a 1983 interview with the Los Angeles Times, he admitted he took himself out of the game. His regret was not just because his new shows failed to attract viewers. It was more about realizing that MASH had been a once-in-a-lifetime experience he would never find again. It was truly something unique and irreplaceable, and McLean had walked away from it all for dreams that never came true as he had hoped. McLean Stevenson's decision to leave the show was meant to open new doors, but instead, it became the biggest regret of his career. While he found other opportunities, nothing ever matched the magic of the show he had walked away from. So how did his former castmates react to his departure, and what lasting impact did it have on the legacy of MASH? McLean's legacy lives. McLean's co-stars had mixed feelings about his decision to leave MASH. Some, like Alan Alda and Loretta Swit, felt two ways about him leaving MASH. Some, like Alan Alda and Loretta Swit, were truly sad to see him go. But they also understood. He wanted to try new things. Others on the cast, though, quietly wondered if McLean had made a mistake by leaving such a special show. They thought he might never find anything like it again. Even though McLean continued acting on TV after MASH, he never achieved the same level of fame or connectedness with viewers as he did playing Colonel Henry Blake. They were genuinely sad that he was leaving, but they also understood that he wanted to try new things and explore other creative endeavors. However, some of his castmates quietly worried he had left something truly special too soon, something he might never find again. Even though McLean kept acting on TV and appeared on other shows, he never saw the same level of success or connected with audiences as profoundly as he did when he played the kind Colonel Henry Blake. When McLean passed away in 1996 at the age of 68, heartfelt tributes poured in from fans around the world and colleagues who had worked with him throughout his career. Alan Alda remembered him fondly as an outstanding actor and a good man. At the same time, Gary Berghoff called him a lighthearted spirit who brought joy to everyone around him, showing how much his former castmates valued both his professional talents and his character. These tributes revealed that despite any behind-the-scenes tensions or creative disagreements, Milan had left a lasting positive impression on the people who knew him best and worked alongside him during those early MASH years. There is a certain irony in Milan's career story because his departure from MASH, while personally disappointing for him, actually gave the show something precious and irreplaceable: its emotional soul and willingness to tackle serious subjects. His exit proved that MASH was willing to take bold creative risks and show the real consequences of war, even when it meant losing beloved characters and shocking loyal viewers. While Milan may have left the show hoping to find his big break and become a major star on his terms, the role he walked away from ended up becoming the most enduring and memorable performance of his entire career. If Milan's departure seemed nerve-wracking and emotional for viewers, Wayne Rogers' exit from MASH was completely different and created an entirely new kind of drama behind the scenes that was complicated and full of unresolved tensions. Unlike Milan, who received a proper farewell episode with tearful goodbyes and a moment that became television history, Wayne Rogers simply disappeared from the show without any explanation or closure for fans. One episode he was there, playing Trapper John McIntyre as one half of the original comedic duo that had defined MASH's early seasons alongside Alan Alda's Hawkeye Pierce. And the next episode he was gone, leaving viewers confused and wondering what had happened to their favorite character and why the show seemed to be pretending he had never existed at all. Wayne Rogers left because he felt misled about his role on the show. When he joined the cast, he was told that his character Trapper John McIntyre would be a co-lead alongside Alan Alda's Hawkeye Pierce. However, as the series progressed, Alda's character began to dominate the storyline, and Rogers felt his role was being reduced to sidekick status. Frustrated by the lack of balance and creative input, Rogers chose not to renew his contract. He had never actually signed a binding contract in the first place, which allowed him to leave the show without legal trouble. His departure came as a surprise to fans and the show's creators, but Rogers stood by his decision. He went on to build a successful career in acting and business. What do you think MASH would have become if Milan Stevenson had stayed? Would the show have taken the same emotional risks that made it legendary? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.